Hello YouTube, how is y'all's day going? Today we have another updated NFL mock draft. I have two trades in today's mock draft. It is both including the Arizona Cardinals, so it should be pretty hype. If you guys are new, it'd be great if you could like and subscribe. It would help out a lot. Also, make sure that you are following me on TikTok and Twitter, which the links will be down below in the description. Let's get into it. All right, so number one, the Chicago Bears. I thought about a trade here because there's been a lot of rumors about the Bears trading their pick, about how they could get a haul and all sorts of things like that. I thought that, I think that that's a possibility. I just don't know what teams are willing to give up that much because a lot of the teams that are within a reasonable distance, like let's just say to number 8, like with my Falcons, they would have to give they don't have that many assets to where they can just kind of throw the assets in there instead of a pick. So you'd be giving probably 3 first round picks plus. So you're probably throwing in maybe a second or a third or whatever, because there's probably going to be a bidding war between a couple of these QB needy teams wanting to get that number 1 spot so they can select who they want, whether that is Stroud or Bryce Young. So I'm just going to have the Bears staying, and they take Jalen Carter. Earlier in the year, I was mocking Will Anderson to them a lot, and I still think that would be a great fit. Either one of these guys would do phenomenal for them, but I think that they would like to, build that interior defensive line, get someone who can literally get pressure on double teams. I mean, he can help with the run game. He fills gaps perfectly. He's just a great prospect. He's huge, and I think he'll do a great job for him. So number 2, CJ Stroud to the Houston Texans. I have probably almost every single mock draft CJ Stroud going there. He's become my QB1 in this draft class, and I have people argue with me all the time about Bryce Young. It's not that I don't see that they could take Bryce Young. I think it's actually a very realistic possibility. I think it's about a 55-45 shot. I would want to say that Stroud gets the nod over him with the 55, but it's right there. So completely understand where that's coming from. But CJ Stroud is better build. He's 6'2". He's got better mechanics. He's got a great arm. He's more accurate. The only thing that's got a little bit of a downside is his rushing ability, which he's honestly improved upon. So I think that the Texans would be making the right decision in grabbing CJ Stroud, QB1 off the board. Number 3, we have a trade. This is the Detroit Lions moving up to number 3 from number 6. And in this trade, I have the Detroit Lions trading 2023 first pick 6, a 2023 second pick 59, and a 2024 third round pick, as well as Romeo Okwara, their interior defensive lineman. Okwara's contract is expiring next year, so it might be a way for them because, Okwara's been a very solid player, but he's not, something amazing. So, maybe this is something where they're like, hey, we can he's a great player. We would love to have him around, but, we get to move up. We get to take someone like Will Anderson, and we can maybe get out of trying to offer that contract and have a younger player on a rookie contract. So, not that Will Anderson is necessarily an interior defensive lineman, but, same kind of, job trying to get at the quarterback. So, and then in return, the Arizona Cardinals are just giving up pick 3. So, I thought this was a fair trade. I thought that around the price range would be a first within the top 10 and another first as well. So a second and a third round pick go to the Cardinals. That way that the Lions don't have to give up their other first round pick, which is at pick 18. Because, you can maybe argue that might be a little bit of an overtrade, but, I could see it happening. I thought about it, and then I kind of threw Romeo Okwara in there. I would view him in the third or fourth round pick range, so, especially without the contract. So, in that case, maybe even a little bit later, maybe it's more of like a 4th or a 5th, but I think that adds up to a little bit more than a first in some cases, but that way they aren't having to give up their other pick this draft. I think the Lions are wanting to really solidify and become good this offseason so that they can finally make the playoffs because they were so close this year. So anyways, I have them trading up and taking Will Anderson. In this case for the Arizona Cardinals, a lot of people don't realize how bad of a situation they're in. They're really going to need to start kind of hitting a almost, not quite, but almost kind of a rebuild phase here. They need to be getting as many young assets as they can, and I'll kind of explain why too when we get down to number 6 a little bit more. But number 4, we have Bryce Young going to the Colts. I feel like I've had CJ Stroud going to the Texans and Bryce Young going to the Colts for almost every mock draft for like the past 3 or something like that. And I stick true to that. Bryce Young, he's a phenomenal player. He could easily be QB1. He's got that scrambling ability, something that the Colts offense desperately needs, someone that is able to escape the pocket when it closes, because it's been happening pretty damn often with that Colts offensive line. So having somebody that can extend the play or make the play on his feet, that's going to be something that will definitely improve that Colts offense. And, Bryce Young's a great quarterback. He's going to have a big arm, something that they also didn't necessarily have. So big upgrade for them at 4. Number 5, I have the Seattle Seahawks taking Myles Murphy. Just freak athlete, big body guy. They need some guys on that defensive line. Shelby Harris is old. They just need Poona Ford. I think he's getting 27, and I mean he's a good player, but he's not great. Myles Murphy's just an overall upgrade. I mean, instant day 1 starter, and he's going to be able to use that raw athleticism and strength to push through offensive lines fairly easily. I've seen people starting to actually make and same with Tyree Wilson. Myles Murphy, Tyree Wilson are almost on the same playing field as far as my eyes, and I feel like a lot of people too. But I've been seeing some making the argument that Myles Murphy is challenging Will Anderson as the first edge off the board. And, depending on what you need, I can see it happening. I could. So, Seattle Seahawks take Myles Murphy at 5. Number 6, Christian Gonzalez going to the Cardinals. This was the traded pick. So, a lot of people are going to say edge rusher, which you'll see at the towards a little bit in the middle of the video why I chose to go this path. But there's a couple reasons. One is that Marco Wilson has done pretty good, but he's not great. He's probably CB2 or CB3. He's probably better as a slot corner. They need that guy, that CB1. Christian Gonzalez, I've been mocking him, I think, in the top 10 since like my first mock drafts. He is CB1. He is CB1. I can't emphasize it enough. This guy's a freak. He's 6'2". He's got a great build, fluid hips, just sticky coverage, able to stick with the receiver, able to change direction on a dime with the receiver. He's just able to keep up. He's absolutely CB1, and I will be shocked. I will be absolutely shocked if he's not taken at CB1. There's no way he gets past CB2. Like, I know teams see what I see. So, Christian Gonzalez going to the Cardinals. They might even lose Byron Murphy this offseason. His contract is up. He's going to be a free agent. So, maybe they extend him, maybe they don't. But either way, even if you have Byron Murphy, you probably need to get Christian Gonzalez in there too. CB1, CB2, build that back up. Patrick Peterson and Murphy were on the same team at one point. So, it would be good either way if they keep him or not. 7, the Raiders. I had somebody talk about the secondary or edge rush for the Raiders, and I can see it. I just don't. I think maybe if Christian Gonzalez was here, Raiders take him. Cam Smith, maybe they go for him. Maybe a Devon Witherspoon. God, I keep on doing that. Devin Witherspoon. I don't know. Whenever I picture his name, it like in my head, it just makes me say like Devon Witherspoon. Because he's a little bit aggressive. He can play in man and zone. Maybe the Raiders defense would like something like that. Maybe they'd like someone like Emmanuel Forbes, who's kind of similar to Christian Gonzalez. I don't know, but I know for one thing that's for sure is that the Raiders' offensive line is deteriorating, and it's going to need help. And I think you take the number 1 tackle in the class, and that's Peter Skoronski. And, Northwestern has done a phenomenal job producing offensive linemen. Peter Skoronski is my favorite in the class. He's aggressive. He's able to make that block and hold it. So I think you can stick him at left tackle or right tackle, but the offensive line needs some upgrades, and who knows who they bring in for quarterback. And, you would think that if you're trying to track, like Aaron Rodgers has been tied to them, they'll probably have to trade this first, but let's just say that they don't, right? let's just say that they don't have to trade this first. Like, something that's going to be attractive to Aaron Rodgers to want to come to the Raiders is that they've got decent protection for him. So, Peter Skoronski going to the Raiders at 7. Number 8, the Falcons, my Atlanta Falcons, have him taking Tyree Wilson. He's a little bit of a raw prospect, but he's got all the traits that you want. He's got a great mix of pass rush moves. He's huge. I think he's 6. God, I hate when I can't remember what guys are. I want to say it's 6'7". I feel like that's crazy, but it's 6'6". I know he's above 6'5". Okay, we're gonna leave it at that. But Tyree Wilson, he's a little bit raw, but overall he's freak athlete. I think I mentioned this before, but there were so many times on his tape where he would just jump through, tackle would come out, guard would come out, and he just jump through between both of them and go and sack the quarterback. And I was just like, wow, you don't see that a lot. You see guys be able to blow through, sure, but it literally just looked like he was like a kid, like he just jumped through, So he's very impressive. He's got, like I said, good mix, and I mean, I think he's somebody that I think would be great, hand in the dirt if you want to put him down on the D line or if you want to stand him up on the edge. I think he'll do great either way. But he's a big body guy. He'll get the job done. So I like that pick at 8. I've been usually doing Isaiah Foskey there. 9. I did this one last draft too. It seems like the quarterbacks are really sticking, but I got Anthony Richardson going to the Carolina Panthers at 9. I'm not a believer in Will Levis, and you'll see how far I have him falling in this draft, but I'm not a believer in Will Levis. I think that, that's the funny thing too, is that Josh Allen is a phenomenal quarterback. Do not get me wrong. So do not think I'm comparing Will Levis's traits to Josh Allen, but that was kind of similar case. There were some questions about Josh Allen's decision making and, his accuracy issues and stuff like that. And he's played to a great level for many years. He's still a top 5 quarterback. But we're starting to see more and more and more that crunch time, or just needing to come in and make plays in the game, he's throwing it right to the defender or just making a poor lapse in judgment. And that's the good thing about Josh Allen too, is that he can throw the ball, 40 yards downfield and make the biggest play, or he can throw it 40 yards downfield and get intercepted. So Will Levis, I see it the same way. Eventually those traits, I don't think those ever really go away. I think the main one that I can remember is Peyton Manning, where he had a terrible rookie season. I think he threw 21 interceptions or 18 interceptions or something like that. And he was able to fix his accuracy issues on that. And he still sometimes would just throw horrible picks, but he improved on that a lot. But that's how I see it with Will Levis. It's he needs to be a Josh Allen, and even then the turnovers and decision making is very questionable. So I don't view him as that, and not from BYU either. BYU, Kentucky. So moving on, Anthony Richardson, that was my point. It was getting to why I don't want Will Levis at 9 for the Panthers. Anthony Richardson, he's 6'4". He's 6'4". That's very impressive to me. A lot of people talk about ideal QB frames and how important it is for a quarterback to be tall. He's 6'4". Nobody talks about how Anthony Richardson is 6'4". So, great scrambling ability. You could argue, last year, Malik Willis was definitely the top scrambler of that QB class. Anthony Richardson, with having that good of a frame, he's got great speed. He's very elusive. You can definitely argue that this might be one of the best rushing quarterbacks that we've seen since Lamar Jackson. Or maybe you could do Jalen Hurts or Justin Fields. A lot of those guys are starting to come out on their own as really good scrambling quarterbacks. But Anthony Richardson's coming into the NFL being known for that. He's got a laser of arm. He lasers balls downfield. I think this would be a great pairing to be running, play action with guys like Laviska Shenault and DJ Moore. Get that man a QB, DJ Moore. I'm a Falcons fan, and I want to see DJ Moore succeed because the disrespect on him is crazy. But Anthony Richardson, I think if I was the Panthers, I'd be happy to get him at 9. I really would. Number 10, Isaiah Foskey to the Eagles. They've got some good pass rush pieces. It'll probably start getting, it's going to get a little bit dicey here. They're going to be giving Jalen Hurts a contract. I have almost no doubt about that. Miles Sanders is a free agent. Do they pay him? Offensive linemen, I think Sumalu is a free agent. Guys are getting older. Brandon Graham, Robert Quinn was a borrow trade, so he's gone next year. So replacing him with Isaiah Foskey, and Isaiah Foskey's that do-it-all guy, and I think that Nick Sirianni and the defense specialists are going to be able to mix him in, and I think it'd be very good, especially for a team that I think has a really big shot at winning the Super Bowl this year. So I think the Eagles are my pick. So getting Foskey in there, getting that do-it-all guy. I mean, he can literally play linebacker, like interior linebacker for them if they needed him to. So I'm a huge Foskey believer. I don't ever see him mocked even in the first round anymore, but I'm going to continue to do it because I need people to see what I'm seeing. So Tennessee Titans taking Paris Johnson Jr. Yeah. Titans are in a cap space situation this year. They can either release or trade Tannehill, I believe, and that will get a ton of, cap back for them. I know that Taylor Lewan, they're by far and away best offensive lineman on their team. If they release him, they'll save a buttload too. Their offensive line was kind of already a weak link. Paris Johnson Jr. is that guy that can play tackle or guard. They could use upgrades on either. I've been usually mocking Jordan Addison here. I have him going to pick after, but I thought, what the hell is this offense if they can't, put a offensive line together to protect a guy like Malik Willis or Tannehill or whatever they decide to do. Who knows? But especially for their run game too. Derrick Henry is such a huge part of that. You got to have guys that can be able to block for that. So Paris Johnson Jr. at 11, 12, Jordan Addison to the Houston Texans. Jordan Addison has become like, I hate saying it, but he's almost become like my wide receiver one because I'm such a Quentin Johnston guy. I'm such a Quentin Johnston believer, but Jordan Addison is one of those guys like, there's a lot of arguers against Quentin Johnston. There's a lot of arguers of Jackson Smith and Jigba like me. You can go Josh Downs, Kayshon Boutte, like whatever you want to say. But Jordan Addison is kind of that undisputed guy. Like, yeah, he's a first round worthy pick receiver. And so that's why I'm starting to believe that teams see that to the point where he will be the first receiver off the board. So Jordan Addison going to the Texans, uniting a really speedy, very reliable deep threat receiver with a great arm guy like CJ Stroud. I think it's a great pick. So not much to explain there. 13, the Jets, Anton Harrison, George Fant. I think they can either save George Fant's contract is either up or they can save. I can't remember, like, by releasing him. I can't remember what the situation is with that, but I know George Fant, I think, is 32 years old, so he's getting older. Mekhi Becton has been getting injured. He's a great tackle, actually, but he's been getting injured pretty damn consistently, so they could use a tackle for sure. Again, they don't know what their QB situation is. They're definitely moving on from Zach Wilson. Will they get Aaron Rodgers? Will they, Jimmy Garoppolo? Who knows, man? Derek Carr. But something that's going to be attractive to a quarterback, especially in a trade scenario where they have a trade clause or something like that, and they have to waive it to come to that team. Something that's attractive for that is that they have an offensive line. So Anton Harrison has been rising up a lot of boards. He's been taken way later than this, but I see the talent there, and I don't know why you wouldn't be afraid to pull the trigger. Offensive line is very important these days. So now 14 to the Cardinals. This one is interesting. I have the Cardinals trading with the Patriots, and it is a D-Hop trade. So I have DeAndre Hopkins, a 2024 third and a 2024 sixth going to the New England Patriots for the 2023 first pick, 14. DeAndre Hopkins has been rumored in a lot of trades. I think if they're able to get a first-round pick out of DeAndre Hopkins, I think that's great. He's got a big contract. A lot of people value him. In my video too, I valued him around a second-round pick, an earlier second-round pick, maybe a late first. I start to see him more as a late first. He's a great receiver. He hasn't really taken any steps down. Maybe a little bit injury-prone or every once in a while missing a game or two. But he really hasn't slowed down. And he's an older receiver, but he's still kicking. So, let's just put it in the scenario of he's worth a late first, because I see it more as that you're giving a third and a sixth late first. You're getting a great wide receiver. That's one of the Patriots' biggest needs. I think that the Cardinals could have traded more, but at the same time, I see how it's like, we're giving up our wide receiver one. He's still a great talent. We're giving you a third as well. Like, give us the first. So that's kind of how I saw that. That's how I wanted to do it. I can definitely see how somebody could disagree with that, though. And then I have them taking Lucas Van Ness, who has just recently gotten some buzz and has been starting to get mocked in the first round. And I watched him, and I was actually very impressed. I graded him as a late first to early second. So this is a little bit higher than I would like. But the main reason that I did this was, one, that they need edge. So now you have them joining, Christian Gonzalez, Romeo Quara, and Lucas Van Ness. They're losing J.J. Watt, and what's so funny is Lucas Van Ness reminds me of J.J. Watt. You can move him all around on the interior defensive line. He's big. He's able to move guys with ease. He stops the run well, gets the quarterback. I really like him. So Lucas Van Ness going to the Cardinals, like I said, really building that defense up. I think that's their main problem. The offense honestly has done good. Sometimes they've had situations in the playoffs, where it's just been god awful, but in other cases, James Conner's kept his production up, Kyler Murray's done a pretty damn good job. The receivers have gotten injured, there's been some problems with that. But overall, you get that big contract off. You get to keep a guy like Hollywood Brown. You got Rondale Moore. AJ Green just retired, but I think this would be a good pick for them. So get that defense up finally. Let's get that back on track. Number 15, the Green Bay Packers. Don't know what's going on with the A-Rod situation. Thought about O-line here. I thought about a guy like Osiris Torrance, the pick after, but I decided not to. So I decided to go Quentin Johnston. Christian Watson was amazing. Get another guy in there that can do the job, and I think that's Johnston for sure. I think I view him as absolute wide receiver one capability. He can be that guy for you. So if it's Jordan Love slinging the rock, if it's Aaron Rodgers, who knows? Maybe Aaron Rodgers just comes back. Then it's a good weapon for him, and it's probably one of the few things that they really desperately need an upgrade on, because the defense, they did a good job of drafting last year. I have no doubt it'll even be better this year because those pieces are going to grow, do better. So yeah, Quentin Johnston getting a little bit of receiving help for Mr. Aaron Rodgers or Jordan Love or whoever the hell the quarterback's going to be. 16, Osiris Torrance. He's moved up a lot. He had a really good I wanted to say Pro Bowl, Senior Bowl showing, and he was already getting some first round buzz. He's definitely the best interior offensive lineman of this class. Commanders need some help on offensive line. Chase Roulier, I think that's how you say that, got injured. And their center and a couple of their other interior offensive linemen are free agents. I'm trying to remember. I know that they have Charles Leno on the other side, and they have Sam Cosmi, and then the guys in the Andrew Norwell, who's done well for them. But on the other side, who is that? I can't remember. But they need some help on the offensive line. It seems like they'll probably most likely roll with Sam Howell, get him a little bit more coverage there, help with the run game since they're really confident in that. Who knows what happens with Antonio Gibson and Brian Robinson, but they like the run game. They got a good receiving core, so they're going to be passing a lot. They need guys that can be able to block for them better, and Torrance definitely will be able to do that. So at 16, I think that's pretty good value. I think we'll start to see him slide up a little bit more. 17 and 18, we have back-to-back corners. Steelers take Cam Smith, very aggressive corner out of South Carolina. He's my CB2. Love Cam Smith. He's got a great frame. Like I said, he's very aggressive. He plays bigger than he is. I would like that pick a lot for the Steelers. There's actually several corners. All the corners that I have in this first round, I would not mind going to Steelers whatsoever. But I liked Cam Smith for them. He's a lot more aggressive. He's going to be able to stick with that guy. Maybe might get called for holding every once in a while, but he does his damn job. So Detroit Lions, they get Will Anderson, and they're able to keep their first. They get Emmanuel Forbes. If I'm a Detroit Lions fan, I'm thrilled. Emmanuel Forbes, I got the privilege to watch recently, and he became my CB3 very quickly. I started realizing, okay, well, I like him better than this guy, and I like him better than this. He's very similar to Christian Gonzalez's play. He's 6 foot flat, I believe, so he's a little bit smaller, but he's a lankier build. He's got very fluid hips. He's able to stick with the receiver, change on a direction, all those kind of things. So, there's a little bit in his film, which these can be harder to guard anyways, but, with some faster receivers, if they did out routes, he was a little bit slower to react to something like that. So there was some completions with that. I'm not quite sure how well I like him in zone, so that might be another thing. But as far as a man-to-man corner, as far as press, as far as build and those traits that I talked about, he's a great damn corner. I could see him, people being like, why wasn't he CB1, and Daniel Jeremiah was the one who brought attention to Emmanuel Forbes for me. So I'm a huge believer in Forbes now. And then, so back-to-back corner, 17, 18, 19, the Buccaneers, we have Broderick Jones. Broderick Jones is 24, I believe. So I've started to slowly take him because, age has become a big problem for me. You don't want your rookie to be that old, but the Buccaneers offensive line is slowly falling really far apart. And they could use a guy, whether he's older, if he's just solidified, he's going to be a great pass protector. We know that about Broderick Jones. So I had them taking him at 19. I thought about Will Levis here. I did that last mock draft. I decided against it. So 20, the Seattle Seahawks end up with Myles Murphy and Brian Branch. Quandre Diggs, I put DB. A lot of people talk only about how he can be such a great slot corner, and it's very true. But one of the main things that I loved about Brian Branch as a safety, because that's what he plays, was that he had great reaction. He was able to read plays amazing, flew to the ball, makes tackles, so I do view him more as a safety, but, you could just put him in that slot corner role and he'll be just fine. So the Seattle Seahawks can use that in both ways. As far as safety, Quandre Diggs is getting older, so, this might be a replacement. Jamal Adams has a history of getting injured or maybe a little bit of lack of production. He's not that great in coverage either. So Brian Branch might be able to step in there, might be an upgrade. So I thought that was honestly phenomenal. Brian Branch is like a top 10 pick for me. Like, he's one of my guys in this upcoming draft. I'm a huge Brian Branch guy. So I think at 20, that's a great pick. 21, Bijan Robinson going to the Chargers. This one seems so obvious to me. I've started to see more people mock running back to the Chargers, whether that's Bijan or Jahmyr Gibbs. But yeah, Austin Eckler has done a great job on the receiving end, outside runs, stuff like that. But as an interior, running on running in the inside, he struggles there. You don't want to get him too bruised up. He's a fantasy machine. But as far as the reality as a runner, they don't use him as much as like a traditional running back. So they need that bruiser guy that they can rely on. They've tried guys like Larry Roundtree and Joshua Kelly, and they've done good jobs before, but Bijan Robinson would make this and take some pressure off damn Herbert, man. They're such an air raid offense. They're always passing, build a little bit off the run game too. Make it a threat, and it's a lot easier to cover when you know that Herbert's going to be slinging the ball and looking for the big play a lot. So I wish that they didn't keep Staley, but whatever. I think Bijan Robinson is a great pick here at 21. 22, Kayshon Boutte to the Baltimore Ravens. I think he's got that wide receiver one upside. He's a little bit raw. You got some worries. I had tiny bit of worry about his hands, a little bit slippery there sometimes, How will that translate? I don't know what quarterback will be throwing to him, probably Lamar, but they need receivers desperately. I've talked about this a million times. It seems like one of the most not talked about topics in the NFL, and it seems like one of the most obvious in my head, that they make the playoffs and they need that receiving talent. They've usually been able to keep a really good run game. Lamar's been able to do a good job on running, and then, their mediocre receivers end up getting locked up by good defenses and they can't advance. So get Boutte, pair him with Devin Duvernay, Rashad Bateman, who will be coming back from injury, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, and then now you got a squad. So I thought that was a good pick. They've spent a lot on their defense, so you can maybe argue going corner because they'll be losing Marcus Peters. but I didn't see it. I thought receiver was more of a need. 23, I have, I'm going to say Devin this time. Devin Witherspoon going to the Minnesota Vikings. They need corner very bad. Andrew Booth is a playmaking guy. They need that lockdown. Witherspoon has been getting CB1 buzz. I don't see that personally. I do see him as a first-round pick, though, late first-round pick where I have him. So, I thought that was a solid pick. And something that they didn't, the secondary is in need of so much help, It just really is. It's such a simple answer. And that's, to me, their biggest need. Their biggest need is defense, Maybe you can argue that, a quarterback, fix might do something, but who knows. Jags, I've been mocking a lot to the Jags, actually. They're a team that has players that get the job done, but they could use upgrades on a lot of things. One of those main things is edge. Dwayne Smoot and Arden Key are both free agents. So Uzama, I love him. I've been mocking him in the first round for, I think, a couple of mock drafts. I watched him. I was very impressive. He's from Kansas State. Very, very athletic. Something that I noticed too is, and why people might not see what I see, is Kansas State would run a lot of or they would rush 3. They would rush 3, so a lot of the time it'd be 3 against 5. And, Uzama did a good job. He was able to break through some double teams, stuff like that. Sometimes when they ran a blitz with a linebacker, brought in an extra edge rusher, they were able to get there a little bit quicker. But, he's a great athletic freak. He's able to... he's got good strength. He's got a good bull rush. He's got a good swim move. He's sometimes, watching him, it would be kind of scary how quickly he was able to get the quarterback. He could easily be one of the best edge rushers in this class, and nobody even knows it. So I absolutely see it. Like if he ended up getting taken like 15 and below, like if he got taken like, I wouldn't be shocked. Like I see why teams are attracted to him. So I think it's an upgrade too over guys like Key and Smoot. Not hating on them or anything, but I think that this would be a great pick for the Jaguars. Get them heading a little bit better of a pass rush defense. So getting the quarterback. 25, the New York Giants. I'm not a Jackson Smith and Jigba believer. I've tried more and more to come around to it. He's a great talent. It's just so hard to give someone so much credit with slot, like 95% slot snaps. We don't know if he can play outside. There's a little bit of injury concern. There's, whatever. I know I get so much hate for, the JSN, not being a JSN believer, but I would say that I wouldn't agree, but I wouldn't disagree if he's taken in one of these later picks. So that's where I view it. JSN going to the New York Giants, they need receiver help. If they can get a guy like, people talk about Cooper Kupp role. If this guy can play Cooper Kupp role, if he's able to make those yard after catch plays, that's amazing. So Jackson Smith and Jigba going to the New York Giants. It's a pretty obvious pick. Trent Simpson going to the Dallas Cowboys. This one's a little bit different. I usually have him going a little bit before, but linebacker is, somewhat of a questionable need depending on the team. They signed Leighton Vander Esch to a 1-year deal last year. He's up. Other than that, their depth is somewhat questionable there. So, Trenton Simpson, an athletic linebacker like that can make tackle, can blitz, is very solid in pass coverage. So it just, with Vander Esch gone, seems like a good way to get younger. Maybe an upgrade. Definitely more athletic in my opinion. 26, Trenton Simpson to the Cowboys. 27, Antonio Johnson got a chance to watch him as well a little bit more, and I was very impressed. He's very, very good at tackling. They are losing Jordan Poyer unless they re-sign him this offseason. Micah Hyde to injury. They had to trade from my Falcons to get Dean Marlowe, DeMar Hamlin. Their safety depth is crippling down to a ridiculous level. So, getting younger at the position, maybe this is a Jordan Poyer replacement. Who knows? But they could definitely use safety. A lot of people try to mock corner, and I don't necessarily disagree. Joey Porter Jr. is on the board at this point, but safety's a need for them. So, Antonio Johnson, who I gave an early second-round grade, so this isn't that crazy for him to be going at 27-28. Joey Porter Jr. to the Bengals. I've been mocking corner, I think, a good bit to them. Eli Apple sucks. I love making that joke, but, he's honestly not terrible. He's just not amazing, and he talks so much crap, so anytime he makes a mistake, it's very highlighted. But Joey Porter Jr., JPJ, very, very, very raw corner. Might be able to sit behind guys like Cam Taylor-Britt and Chidobe Awuzie, and learn from them. But he's got a great frame, very, very nice frame, and eventually, I don't think right away, but he can be a huge upgrade over even Cam Taylor-Britt and Eli Apple. So I like that pick for the Bengals, and I think it's very good value. Will Levis, the Saints, after trading Sean Payton, they have the 29th pick. They take Will Levis. I'm not a Will Levis believer. I'm really not. But I can see why team would like him. Saints need quarterback. They need a cheaper option. Get a rookie quarterback here. So try to see if the Saints can build something off that. They got a young weapon for him with Chris Olave, Adam Troutman, Alvin Kamara. They got a pretty solid offensive line. So maybe they can get something going there with Levis. Who knows? Darnell Wright to the Kansas City Chiefs. He's also someone who had a very, very good Senior Bowl showing, and has started to get first-round buzz. And I think as a late first-rounder, it's a very, very, very realistic possibility. They have Andrew Wiley and Lucas Niang at right tackle, and they're not terrible or anything, but Darnell Wright is probably most definitely at the moment probably an upgrade there. So get Darnell Wright. He's a tiny bit raw, but he showed out, and he played for a big team with Tennessee. Protected Hendon Hooker and stuff like that. He did a good job. So first round buzz, I think it's worth it, and so I gave him to the Chiefs. I could see him going higher than this even. 31, Jahmyr Gibbs to the Eagles. This one, Miles Sanders is gone. They've done a really good job in the playoffs with the run game. They've been known a lot more for passing, other than Jalen Hurts getting some yards on his feet, and they've started to implement Miles Sanders. He's had a phenomenal year. Will they pay him? I doubt it. I really do. I think Sanders is on a new team next year, so Jahmyr Gibbs to the Eagles, I think, works. Pair him with Kenneth Gainwell, kind of have a little bit of a 1-2 punch there. Boston Scott was even doing his thing, so, if all running backs are doing really well, they probably don't want to just pay one either, because Sanders does deserve some money, and I don't think they'll be able to pay that. So, all right, that is going to be it. 32, obviously the Dolphins are forfeited, so that is going to be it for the video. If you guys did like it, again, please go down and like and subscribe. It would really, really help. You guys have no idea. But that is going to be it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Stay safe, and God bless.